This third video is detailing how to set up your rocket modeler for the nose cone. And what we want to do is the same thing we did before, is set up our design constraints, the things we want to have the same throughout all of our tests. So for this, we'll need to make sure our payload we have set to 0. The body, we should have the 1/32 inch cardboard set for our body, and then the fin should be set to the 1/16 inch gray cardboard. So we want to make sure we change that. So the only thing that we'll need to change is in our nose cone, and we'll be able to change these options. So what we'll need to indicate is the type of material we're going to use, the shape of the nose cone, the length of the nose cone, how wide is the nose cone, how much air hits the front of the nose cone, and then how high the rocket goes based on the design of your nose cone. So there's different options for the shape of your nose cone. So we have some that are more pointy, some that are more rounded. So we can choose which one of these options we want, and so I'm just going to pick a spherical. And we want to make sure we're using the solid foam, since that's the material we're going to use. And the reason we use the solid foam is because if it hits something, it can bounce off most of the time, as long as it doesn't hit something with a great force. Otherwise it'll break, but if it breaks, we can usually glue it back together. So it's a relatively easy material to work with. We'll indicate how long that nose cone should be, and depending on your options, you may or may not be able to change it. So in this case, I can't change it because of the option I set here, but if I set it to be a cone, I can change it. So depending on the shape that you use, you may not be able to change some of these numbers. So I'm just going to make my nice round number, 5-inch tall cone, and the diameter, it could be larger or smaller than your body. Usually making it bigger is better because it'll fit better on the body. So I'm just going to do 1.5 inches. So the cone is a little wider than the body of the rocket. So you can make it 1 inch to make it the same. Usually making it smaller is a little more tricky, so I try to stick with something equal to or larger than the size of the body of the rocket. We don't have a recovery system. We don't have a parachute that we're going to use because we're not shooting it up in the air, so it doesn't have time to have a recovery system. And the last thing here is the ballast. That's just stuff you could put inside, weights that you could put inside to determine how the rocket's going to fly, and we're not going to go and change that because we don't want to it'll be too goofy if we start to throw stuff in the inside there. So we're just going to leave that the same. Afterwards, you can change some of these options after you get your chart done if you want to see what happens. Just leave that the same. And then, like we did before, click go when you're done, and then fuel, set that to 25 pounds, and then the launch tube should be 6 inches. And then the pad, go, and then we'll launch it. So for the launch on this one, we'll need to indicate our drag, how much air is hitting the front, and then the height that the rocket went. So we'll need to do 10 different tests of those variables for the nose cone, and then if you have any questions, please ask your instructor.